Welcome to 2 Minutes About Time, the podcast that takes a look at the Richard Curtis film about time, 2 minutes at a time. I'm Luke Allen, and I'm a filmmaker and podcaster, and I'm joined with my co-host Robert Black.
Hello.
So, the opening line in this minute 3, is the continuation of Tim's introduction of Kit Kat, where he says, "and still is to me about the most wonderful thing in the world." And it sort of establishes that, you know, whatever happens in the film, their relationship isn't damaged, so that's nice and sweet. And this is... What have you got on visual at that point?
At that point, that's when she runs out and kisses Desmond on the forehead. He's just sitting in a bench out behind the house by himself. She kisses him and then runs away.
And I do love just the entire family dynamic we see with them all, especially in this minute 3. As Tim moves on to say, "All in all, it was a pretty good childhood, full of repeated rhythms and patterns. By the time I was 21, we were still having tea on the beach every single day. Skimming stones and eating sandwiches, summer and winter, no matter what the weather. And every Friday evening, a film, no matter what the weather. And then once a year, the dreaded New Year's Eve party."
Yep.
And, I mean, it's good, I guess we go back onto, like, the tea on the beach and all of that. Like, it's just wonderful, to be honest. It's just sweet and heartwarming. And
visually, there's a weird thing where it shows all of them by the fire except for Desmond. But he's only sitting like a couple feet off to the side, because the next shot we see where he is when he falls over. But for some reason, he's not in the shot before it.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, do you think that represents anything about Desmond sort of being out of frame?
Yeah, it's interesting because you get him framed separately in this, and then we'll get to it in a second, but when they're out watching the film, Kit Kat is the one who's being different than everyone else. So it's like they're the two kind of outsiders.
And when we go back to the shot on Desmond, it is him and Kit Kat. So it's almost like...
So we can see where he is in relation to the previous shot.
Yeah. I'm just wondering whether it says anything about him and Kit Kat as well.
Yeah.
Also noticing, I guess it's even that moment is a montage moment. It doesn't happen straight after the other clip, because Cup's in the other hand.
Huh.
I don't know how relevant that is and how worthwhile that is as a point, but it's...
And this is the second book we've seen the father have, too. We didn't mention before he was reading a John le Carré book, and now he has some other book tucked behind his arm.
Oh, yes, and obviously that pays off later on when he talks about reading.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's just a wonderful sort of relationship we see with the family. Like, everything is sort of, you know, dream come true, really, exactly. I think how everyone wants their family to be.
Yeah. Nice house, doing things together on a regular basis.
Yeah, at least as me being someone who finds comfort in routine as well, that the idea of this being so regular, and the film on the beach as well, which it just seems great. Although I say it's film on the beach, but that the wall is their house, isn't it? Because their house is so close to the beach, so it's more film outside their house than film on the beach.
Yep.
I hadn't really paid attention to that, and you know, you probably know better what the film is that they're watching than I do.
It is High Plains Drifter with Clint Eastwood.
Because I recognised it was Clint Eastwood, I didn't realise what film it was. But yeah, the idea of routine and sort of format with this, I think, is sort of great, because there is that comfort in the regularity, which I assume was intentional on Richard Curtis's part here. And then we go straight into the New Year's Eve party, which is like a massive...
Well, you skip the umbrellas.
Oh, the umbrellas, of course, yeah.
Umbrellas is good, because it's no matter the weather and it starts raining.
And Kit Kat hasn't got an umbrella.
Kit Kat doesn't have an umbrella. She's sitting there barefoot, no umbrella.
Well, she is a nature thing. So even Uncle Desmond's got an umbrella. So
yeah.
But I do think that is
Kit Kat doesn't have
brilliant
one.
shot. And actually the mum's the only one with a different umbrella as well.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think sort of matches her style and her fashion icon of the Queen, which you can kind of see throughout, to be honest. And yeah, I think it's such a massive jump from the regularity to the New Year's Eve party, which is obviously another deliberate thing here, where we got just Tim walking in the New Year's, and once again not once again, but Tim at this point doesn't match the colours of the house as much.
No, and it's the same hallway.
It is. That's really true.
But he does. So that other one was deliberate. They made him blend in for the opening shot.
I do like how some of the characters that we see in this party scene are significant characters for later on.
Right,
but also,
and there's also insignificant ones that you repeat. You see them meet each other at the beginning of the party, and then a couple shots later, they're the ones kissing. And
yeah. But some of this sort of makes me wonder, are they Kit Kat's friends? Because, like, there are a lot of young people for his mum and dad's party.
Yeah.
And a lot
Maybe
of young
that's why
people...
it's dreaded, is they invite everyone who lives nearby or something.
Yeah. And a lot of young people who Tim doesn't seem to know. It's...
Mm-hmm.
It's just sort of always intrigued me, really, as to where all these young people are from. But once again, I do kind of love the idea of such a big party in their house and the family. Kind of reminds me of a much larger scale of my nan's Christmas parties. But then we see Polly, who could easily have become a major character, but she does just appear in this scene and when they go back later on.
And then one later, yeah.
Who is acting kind of weird as she summons Tim over, making a face.
Well, yeah, because he waves to the wrong woman, and then she waves to him. It's like a quick reversal where he becomes the one trying to get away.
Right, so the transcript says, "You're absolutely gorgeous." Who says that? Is it just the guy at the start in the mumble?
No, that's what Kit Kat says when she
Kit Kat
meets Jimmy.
says, "Oh, that's later on. That's why."
Yeah, it's after all the Polly stuff.
That makes more sense. I was just wondering, what's... Yeah, and I like that as well, that we have Kit Kat meeting Jimmy at this, like, because it means nothing at this point, but once again, it pays off later on. And
there's an interesting thing to the payoff, though, is if you think about it later, jumping ahead, I guess, twice, he comes back and changes what happens here with him and Polly, right? Yeah. But then later, he comes back and changes what happens with Kit Kat and Jimmy, which means he didn't change what happened with Polly.
Oh, yeah.
But then at some point, he has to go back again to let Kit Kat and Jimmy meet. And I don't know what happened with Polly.
Yeah, it's weird. Once again, like, it had been said with About Time, like, you've got some amazing continuity here, but there are other bits which, when you overthink it, like, the whole rules.
Well, it's later continuity ruins earlier continuity, and I'm like, yeah, but how's Polly? I worry about her because she's so awkward.
Even the incredible near-end scene with Tim and his dad.
Yeah.
Like, even that, like, they acknowledge that it kind of ruins continuity with, we'll try not to mess anything up. But it's also like...
Yeah.
It's also sort of opens up, so that still was a possibility. So therefore,
well, yeah.
If he tries not to mess anything up, he can still go back and see his dad. Like, it's just
Yeah, if they spent too long out on that beach at the end, then some thing they did in the original timeline doesn't happen, and then a big butterfly effect outward. Yeah, there's always a chance.
I'm sure we'll end up getting back to that at
the
end. I'm sure there's a lot to say.
And every time he goes back in time.
It's not necessarily a criticism, because it's not important. It's not a sci-fi film. But
No.
But yeah, we sort of see Kit Kat meeting Jimmy, and that marks the end of minute 3.
Yep.
Got any final points before we move straight on to minute 4?
No, that's the first dialogue of the film, is Kit Kat talking, which is interesting, because she's not the main character. She immediately is... She just met Jimmy. She says he's absolutely gorgeous, and then she touches his face. And I'm like, okay, Kit Kat's weird. She's also drinking, so hey.
When we move straight on to minute 4, there's a lot of dialogue which we don't really need to discuss, because it's just random snippets of conversations. But we do have the countdown to New Year.
It's Kit Kat and Jimmy.
Of course it is.
Like the what am I drinking stuff.
Yes,
she introduced herself as Katie.
Yeah. That's what confused me, because I've not got the sound on while I got the video. I'm reading them both separately, and I was like, "Oh, Katie must just be a random other person."
Now that she introduces herself as Katie, she does not gonna call herself Kit Kat, you know.
It is like, so she's almost making an effort with Jimmy to ensure her first impression.
Yeah, but then the next shot is him saying this is very expensive stuff, and he's pouring a drink into her mouth. So it's like foreshadowing their problems later.
Oh, yes. That's a really good point, actually. Good work on that noticing there. And, of course, the background music is all the things she said. And I've got the artist saved on my phone. I can't remember who it is. Right.
Tattoo, that's it. Or Tatu, I don't know.
I don't know enough about music other than the soundtrack to know anything else they've done, to be honest. Yeah. Probably should. Because they sound like an artist that I should know about. But I don't. So yeah, we've got them meeting, and then Tim sort of gets barged through by I know his name, and I forgot.
Jay. Although we don't get to really meet him
Jay,
until later.
Yeah.
We don't know his name. We don't even know he's a character.
I do like the fact, like, it could easily have been a completely irrelevant character at this point, so I like the fact that they have kept these little bits in. And obviously it is important, I guess, that Jay's at the party for later on. I mean, we don't know that that's when she meets Jay necessarily, but, you know, it easily could have been. I'm just trying to see if there's anything interesting that the extras are doing, but not really. So he walks into the table.
They are paired up, and the pairs stick around, but it gets consistent, but not that interesting.
Yeah, and we sort of move into the New Year's countdown before everyone kisses. Tim looks to almost lean in to kiss Polly before he shakes her hand. I mean, I think this is... I mean, he briefly mutters something, but I mean, he says almost,
sorry.
Yeah, this is almost his
it's
first...
so horrible.
This is almost his first dialogue, isn't it? The Happy New Year as he shakes her hand.
Happy New Year, sorry.
Because he knows instantly what he's done.
He said, "Oh God," when Tim knocked the table over, but you could barely tell it was him. So yeah, this is his first real line, is Happy New Year, sorry.
And the look of disappointment on his face right at the end as well.
Yeah, at least he's disappointed too, not just her.
Yeah. I mean, part questions
she goes through
why...
several levels of disappointment.
Yeah. Part questions why he couldn't realise his mistake and then kiss her, but that's another thing, and obviously he's not in that train of thought at this point.
Now, we barely mentioned the woman that he thought was waving to him earlier.
Yes, of course.
She and the guy that she was actually waving to are in the background kissing at New Year's, so they're together.
They're in the foreground for a moment, actually, aren't they? As well.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
I do like that, and I think it is almost great that we do move on to... We've got Kit Kat and Jimmy, we've got that couple, and another couple that we can't quite see. And it does just express how everyone else is doing the same thing.
Although, oddly, I don't think Jay is. I think Jay is alone. We can see his arm behind one of the couples, and he doesn't seem to be next to another person.
Yeah, his arm's just up in the air.
Yeah, he's by Kit Kat and Jimmy. And his arm's just... Yeah, he's not kissing anyone. Even though he was the one eager to get in there for the countdown.
And then we sort of jump cut to him in his pyjamas lying in bed.
Mm-hmm.
Once again, another great sort of sudden cut.
Yeah, this movie uses those really well.
And this is...
Because, it's about time.
Yeah. This is like one of the... Is this like the second film Richard Curtis directed? Like, he hasn't directed many.
Yeah, I think second.
Love Actually was the first one.
Yeah.
And I think this... And then I think everything else is just like shorts. But then he did
say
with this... Yeah, he did say with this that he thought it was his last time directing. Because he realised it wasn't very fun. And I like that he's open about that. Like, I think a lot of people wouldn't be.
It's good to know, yeah.
Yeah. And he still said he wanted to keep writing, but also he even said, like, About Time covers, like, all elements that he's been through in his life. So he said, like, he would have been happy if that was his last film. And he said there was a very good chance it could have been. But then the next year he wrote Trash. The year after that he wrote SEO Trot. And then, like, different TV stuff before Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again, and Yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's written a lot. So he's got 5 credits for directing. Oh, he directed Boat That Rocked as well, so it's his third film directing. And his last film directing. Other than Red Nose Day, actually. Which doesn't really count, I don't think. Do you get that? Did you get that in the States?
I don't think so.
It was just, he did one for Love Actually a couple of years ago, and he did one for 4 Weddings and a Funeral last year. And it was just like a short sketch with everyone back. And just like a reunion thing, basically.
As the same characters?
Yeah. It's basically like reliving... It's a big nostalgia thing, and since it's for charity, you don't really expect anything more. So it's like the card scene in Love Actually when he's holding up all the cards at her door, and it's like that, but it's a different thing he's saying or something. And just stuff like that, but it's great and incredible. And obviously the main thing is the little boy, who's obviously not a little boy anymore. Is there much else to say in this minute, is the question?
No, it's a great ending for the minute, though, because that smash cut to him in bed and the music is just gone. It's like, party's over. Didn't end well.
That is up for episode 2, minutes 3 and 4 of 2 Minutes About Time. Robert, where can the listeners find you on social media?
social media, you can look me up as Robert E.G. Black, or if you want links to any of my shows or whatever, go to lemmingdrops.com.
And they can find me on Twitter at llama_bottle0, on Instagram at thegingerluke, and they can find all of my content at lukeallen.co.uk. And this show is on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at 2 Mins About Time. Thank you so much for listening to this episode, and you'll hear us all, if you come back, on Friday. The 2 Minutes About Time theme is performed by Ethan O'Mahony and is a cover of the About Time theme originally composed by Nick Laird-Close. 2 Minutes About Time is a production of Lemming Drop Studios in association with Bottle O Productions.